In the town of Lumumba, there lived a young man named Kofi. He was quiet and polite, never raising his voice at anyone. Kofi's home was small and worn down, with peeling paint on the walls and a roof that sometimes leaked when it rained. Despite its condition, Kofi kept it clean and tidy, helping his younger sister, Amira, in every way he could. Years ago, an accident had left Kofi unable to walk. He moved around using a wheelchair, which made many people in the town underestimate him. But Kofi never let this stop him. He learned to do chores, cook simple meals, and push himself around the village market. Every day he would help Amira set up her small stall, selling vegetables and homemade bread to earn a little money. He also ran errands for neighbors, delivering groceries or letters, always doing his work carefully and honestly. At school, some students laughed at Kofi. Tay and Bayo, who thought they were strong and clever, often mocked him. "Look at him. He can't even walk," Tay would shout. "Even the baby in the street can beat him," Bayo added, laughing loudly. They would point at his wheelchair, make rude gestures, and whisper cruel jokes when Kofi passed by. Despite the laughter and teasing, Kofi never shouted back. He never hit or insulted them. He only gave them a faint, calm smile. Sometimes this smile made the bullies uneasy, though they could not explain why. Kofi had a quiet strength, something they had never seen before. While they thought him powerless, he was strong in patience, dignity, and hope. After school, Kofi would help Amira with their chores, pushing the wheelchair through narrow streets and uneven paths. Some villagers whispered that Kofi's calm nature was strange, that no one should be so patient while being mocked daily. But Kofi never minded. He focused on what he could do, helping his sister, learning from books he borrowed from the small library, and improving his skills with simple tools and gadgets he found. Every evening after the market closed and the sun went down, Kofi would sit near the small garden behind their home. He would look at the stars and dream of a life where he could do more, where his mind and talents could shine beyond the town. "One day," he whispered to himself, "I will show the world what I can do." Even though Tay and Bayo laughed at him every day, Kofi's heart remained kind. He never wished harm on anyone. He quietly observed the world around him, learning from the people who were rude and from those who were kind. This patience and calmness became his hidden power. No one knew it yet, but Kofi had plans that went far beyond Lumumba. While the bullies thought he was weak, he was preparing himself for the day when his courage, intelligence, and hard work would shine. And though he appeared small and fragile to them, Kofi's spirit was strong, ready to turn every insult and every cruel laugh into a lesson of success and dignity. Even Amira, his sister, noticed the quiet strength in him. "One day," she would whisper, "you will teach them all that patience is more powerful than laughter." Kofi would smile and nod, though he did not tell her the full plan yet. For now he continued to live quietly, helping others, learning and dreaming. The bullies, unaware of his growing potential, continued to mock him, thinking they had the upper hand. Little did they know that Kofi was building a life that would change everything. For him, for his sister, and for everyone who ever laughed at him without reason. Kofi had always been quiet, but his mind was busy with ideas and plans. While the bullies laughed at him during the day, he spent his nights learning new things. He found old books in the library and borrowed them whenever he could. Soon, he became fascinated with computers and the possibilities of the internet. He spent hours reading about online businesses, learning how to sell products, create websites, and manage money. Every day after helping his sister Amira at the market and finishing his chores, Kofi would push himself to a quiet corner in their small home and work on his computer. He practiced typing, learned coding, and researched what people in other towns needed. Even though he had limited resources, he used what he had creatively. He reused old parts from broken electronics, fixed a slow computer, and built a small system that allowed him to sell small items online. To fund his plans, Kofi took small jobs around the town. He ran errands, helped neighbors carry water or groceries, and repaired small items for people who could not afford to pay much. Every coin he earned was carefully saved in a small box under his bed. He watched the money grow slowly, knowing that one day it would help him take a big step toward his dreams. The bullies, Tay, Bayo, and their friends, continued to mock him every day. They laughed at his wheelchair, whispered rude jokes when he passed, and sometimes even tripped over his chair to make fun. They did not see the hours Kofi spent studying, building, and planning. They thought him weak because he could not walk and because he kept silent. Kofi never reacted to their taunts. He smiled faintly, and sometimes he would shake his head and push forward, letting their laughter fade behind him. Deep inside he knew that their cruelty could not stop him. Each insult, each laugh only strengthened his determination. He told himself, "They see my chair but they do not see my mind." One day that will be clear to everyone. In the evenings, Kofi would talk quietly with Amira. He never revealed all his plans, but he shared ideas about learning, working, and thinking bigger. Amira, he said one night, one day I will not be judged by this chair. People will see what we can do. We will rise beyond this town. Amira looked at him with admiration and hope, knowing her brother was special, even if the others could not see it. As months passed, Kofi's small online business started growing. He sold items to nearby villages and towns, using his saved money to buy better supplies. He learned how to talk to customers politely and how to deliver his products on time. Slowly, his reputation as a reliable and honest seller spread. But all this he did quietly without boasting or showing off. The bullies remained unaware. They continued to waste their time mocking and teasing, thinking Kofi's life was small and limited. They laughed at his wheelchair, not knowing that he was preparing a future that would surprise everyone. Each day as they walked carelessly, Kofi focused on his goals. Kofi often imagined a life far beyond Lumumba. He dreamed of having a business that could help many people, of being respected for his intelligence and determination, and of showing the world that a person's strength is not in their legs, but in their mind and heart. He knew the road would be difficult and he knew he had to work harder than anyone else. But he did not mind. Even the villagers who saw Kofi every day began to notice something unusual. Though he moved slowly in his wheelchair, there was a calm confidence in his eyes. He spoke politely, worked diligently, and never complained. Some wondered quietly why the bullies mocked someone so kind and patient. But no one yet knew the full story of his secret ambition. Kofi's nights were filled with dreams of success. He pictured the day when he would visit other towns, meet important people, and show that his life was not defined by his disability. Every small job, every coin saved, every lesson learned on the computer was a step closer to that dream. The bullies, however, remained trapped in their small view of him. They laughed at what they did not understand. They thought Kofi was powerless, weak, and poor. They did not see his hard work, his intelligence, or the quiet fire burning inside him. Little did they know, the day was coming when their laughter would turn into astonishment. Kofi continued to grow stronger in spirit, building his business, learning new skills, and helping his sister and neighbors. Each day brought him closer to a future where respect and success would replace the whispers and laughter of those who doubted him. And in the quiet of his small home, he promised himself, "One day they will know that I am more than they ever imagined." Kofi had been working quietly on his ideas for months, developing a small app that could help local businesses manage their sales and deliveries more easily. He tested it on friends and neighbors, gathering feedback and improving it bit by bit. He never boasted about his work, he only focused on making it better. When the announcement for the citywide technology contest came, Kofi saw an opportunity. The prize was for the best new business idea, and it promised not only money but also mentorship and support for growth. He carefully prepared his submission, detailing how his app could help small business owners like the ones in Lumumba and nearby towns. He uploaded the presentation quietly without telling anyone, not even his sister Amira. Meanwhile, Tay, Bayo, and the other bullies continued their daily routine. They laughed at Kofi's wheelchair, mocked his small business, and boasted about themselves. They did not even think to enter the contest, believing it was not meant for someone like him. They were busy showing off to friends, never imagining that Kofi's quiet focus was taking him far ahead. Weeks passed and the judges reviewed hundreds of submissions. Kofi's app stood out. It was simple, practical, and clever, a solution that many could use immediately. The judges were impressed by how clearly he understood the problems of small business owners and how efficiently his app could solve them. When the contest results were announced, Kofi's name came first. The prize included a large sum of money, professional mentorship, and investors eager to support him in expanding his business across the city. The news spread quickly, and everyone in Lumumba was shocked to learn that the quiet young man in a wheelchair had won a major contest. Tay and Bayo were speechless. They had laughed at Kofi daily, never imagining he could achieve something so impressive. They tried to hide their embarrassment, but the villagers whispered among themselves, amazed by his intelligence and dedication. Kofi remained calm and humble, thanking the judges and promising to use the prize to help others. Amira could not stop smiling. She hugged her brother tightly, proud of his hard work and perseverance. She had always known he was special, but now the whole town saw it too. "You did it, Kofi," she said softly. "You showed them what really matters, not strength in the legs but strength in the heart and mind." The bullies could not escape the truth. Their laughter, insults, and teasing were meaningless compared to Kofi's success. People began to respect him, seeing the determination and patience that had brought him this far. Kofi did not boast or gloat. He simply continued working, expanding his app and helping the local shops in Lumumba and nearby towns. The contest changed everything. Kofi now had resources to grow his business, investors who trusted him and recognition for his talent. His life, once small and unnoticed, was opening up in ways the bullies could never have imagined. They had judged him by appearances, but he had proved that true value comes from hard work, focus, and intelligence. Even in the midst of his success, Kofi remained humble. He continued helping his sister, supporting neighbors, and encouraging young people to learn and work hard. "It is not about showing off," he told them, "but about using your skills to make life better for yourself and others." For the first time, Tay and Bayo felt small and powerless, realizing that mocking others only wasted their time. Kofi, in contrast, had turned his quiet diligence into real achievement. He had shown that being underestimated does not limit a person's potential. It can give them the freedom to prepare in secret until the right moment arrives. By the end of the month, Kofi's app was being used by dozens of businesses in the city, and his story was inspiring others. The bullies, once loud and proud, now avoided teasing him. The town of Lumumba had learned a lesson: never judge someone by appearances and never underestimate the quiet ones, for they may carry power and wisdom far beyond what you can see. Kofi sat in his wheelchair, smiling faintly as he checked messages from new clients. He had worked in silence, endured mockery, and now the world was recognizing his talent. His eyes reflected pride and calm satisfaction. He had proved, without shouting or revenge, that true strength comes from perseverance, intelligence, and patience. Months later, Kofi returned to Lumumba, but he was no longer the quiet, poor young man in a worn-down wheelchair. He wore a sharp suit, polished shoes, and carried an air of confidence that made people turn to look at him. His small app had grown into a large company, earning him recognition and wealth. Investors had praised his work, and the media now spoke of him as a rising star in the tech world. That day, the town held a small festival in the market square. People were celebrating the harvest, music played, and children ran through the stalls. Kofi entered quietly, moving through the crowd with calm dignity. He noticed Tay and Bayo, the same boys who had mocked him for years. They were laughing at another boy, pointing and jeering, unaware of who had just arrived. When their eyes fell on Kofi, laughter stopped abruptly. Tay blinked and Bayo's mouth opened in shock. The boy they had teased for years, the one they called weak, useless, and slow, was standing before them as a handsome, confident man who carried himself like a leader. The wheelchair was still with him, but now it did not define him. He was not limited. He was powerful in mind, presence, and success. Kofi paused for a moment, observing them calmly. There was no anger or revenge in his gaze, only quiet pride. People around him started whispering, "That's Kofi, the one who was mocked." Others nodded, realizing how wrong they had been. Tay and Bayo looked around nervously, suddenly feeling small, unworthy of their previous arrogance. A few villagers stepped forward, greeting Kofi with smiles and admiration. They had watched his journey from a quiet, humble boy to a successful entrepreneur. The contrast was striking, and the bullies felt the weight of their past actions. Kofi approached them slowly, his calm presence commanding attention. "You laughed at me once," Kofi said softly, "thinking I was weak. But I learned something you did not. Patience, hard work, and belief in oneself can create power no one can see." His words were quiet, yet carried authority. Tay and Bayo lowered their heads, ashamed and speechless. They realized that cruelty and mockery had never brought them anything, while Kofi's silence and determination had built an empire. The villagers clapped quietly, not to humiliate the bullies, but to honor Kofi's journey. His sister Amira stood beside him, proud and smiling. She remembered how he had spent hours learning, building his business, and ignoring the cruel words. Now the whole town could see the reward of his diligence. Kofi moved through the market, talking to people, signing small autographs, and giving advice to young entrepreneurs. He did not boast about his wealth or success. Instead, he used his story to inspire others, showing that anyone, no matter the challenges, could achieve greatness if they believed in themselves. Tay and Bayo slunk away to a corner, avoiding eye contact. They had learned a lesson without Kofi raising his voice. Mocking others does not make you strong, and judging someone by appearances can blind you to true potential. As the sun set over Lumumba, Kofi wheeled himself past the stalls, smiling faintly. His journey from the boy they laughed at to a successful young billionaire was complete. He had not only proven his worth but also taught the town the value of patience, intelligence, and resilience. People whispered for years about that day, how the poor, quiet, and crippled boy became a symbol of success and strength. Kofi had shown that true power comes from the mind, heart, and persistence, not appearances or physical strength. Instead of seeking revenge, Kofi chose to use his success to help his town. He met with the village elders and asked what would benefit the community most. Together, they decided to build a small school for children who could not afford to go to city schools. Kofi provided books, uniforms, and teachers, making sure every child had a chance to learn. He also created scholarships for hard-working youth who wanted to study further but lacked funds. Young people from Lumumba who once struggled to find opportunities could now dream bigger. Kofi personally interviewed some of them, encouraging them to aim high and never let setbacks stop them. For adults and older youth, Kofi opened a small business center. He offered jobs, training, and mentorship to those willing to work honestly. People who had felt powerless in the town before could now support their families and improve their lives. Tay and Bayo, the same bullies who had laughed at him, watched silently as Kofi helped everyone. They understood that their mockery had been meaningless and foolish. They approached Kofi quietly, ashamed of their past behavior. Kofi smiled gently and said, "Learn from this. Strength is not in hurting others, it is in lifting them." Over time, the people of Lumumba came to admire Kofi not just for his wealth, but for his kind heart and vision. His story spread across the town and nearby villages, inspiring others to work hard, stay patient, and treat people with respect. Kofi continued to work quietly, helping wherever he could. He never forgot the days he was mocked, and he used those memories to remind himself why kindness and perseverance matter. Children in the village would tell stories about the boy in a wheelchair who became a billionaire and used his success to change lives. Even years later, the lesson remained clear in Lumumba. Judging someone by appearances is foolish, and true strength and success are born from patience, perseverance, and a good heart. Kofi's actions created a ripple effect, encouraging generations to come to pursue dreams, help others, and never underestimate anyone.